Hey, we are live. Today is Sunday, November 13th. And if you're watching on YouTube, of course, the readings, the timestamps will be in the description for your readings and your signs. Fully for that is good. So we're just going to wait for people to show up and then we'll get started. Excuse me. Hey, how's it going, everybody? Who's showing up? Hey, baby doll. How's it going? Hey, Anna Banana 401, good to see ya. I choose love. Hey, official floral roses. Good morning. How's it going? Hey, Kara. How's it going? Ooh, I feel like I'm still waking up today. And that's okay. Hey, Kit Kat. Sending much love to all here. Same. Heck yeah. From Source. Good morning, Angie. How are you doing? Good morning, Sunday. Ooh, I'm still, hey, official floor roses. I'm doing well. I am doing pretty well. I feel like I felt like I don't know if it's resistance or what to jump on the live today, but I'm here. I'm here and I'm ready to go. So, I'm doing pretty well. How are you guys doing? Good morning. Good morning, cattle lady. Hey Marina, so we're doing just kind of what we've been doing the past little while. I've got the, channel messages ahead of time for collective reading, for the fire signs, earth signs, air signs, water signs, and we'll probably do a full channel mode channel at the end. And so yeah, that's what we'll be doing today. I might hang out for just a second, because one thing I just realized is that I actually miss, I do like the new live format that I've been doing the past couple months, but I miss talking with you guys. I miss interacting with you guys in like the chats and hanging out. Wiped out, brutal week, I hear ya. It does get better, is something I'm hearing. Okay, they actually want me to start the reading, so I guess I'm just gonna jump right in and maybe we'll hang out after all this. So we're gonna start with a collective reading. That's for everyone when we're all here. Sorry, I've got I've been reusing the same sticky notes because I don't like wasting paper, I guess, and now they're starting to stick. So technical difficulties, excuse me. Okay, cool. Okay, so let's jump into the collective reading for everybody, fully for the highest good. So if you're watching on YouTube later on, it's for you when you see it. If you're watching here now, it's for you now when you see it. And the first message was just, they gave me the word healing. They said there's a lot of healing being worked through everyone's system at the moment, whether it's physical healing or emotional, but they said it is fast. And when we're going through healing phases like that, sometimes it seems like everything is crap, but it's not, is kind of something they're talking about. I really do get this message that things are looking up but it's long term. It is one of the things they're saying for everyone here. I'm not saying things won't be good or aren't good. For some of you, they might not seem like they're good right now. But if you look at the long-term trajectory of where your life, for most of you, and where things are headed, don't worry about the sun. It's actually looking up. And they showed me like a giraffe, and it was really interesting because it almost looked like he was underwater in some way, but he's kind of looking up at the long-term trajectory, and those were the words I heard, where like things were looking up long-term. But if you think of like a collective cleanse, or like almost like a fire cleanse, or showing like a fire kind of cleansing things, like, I know we've talked about it before, but that's a bit of what's going on right now with everyone. So you might be feeling it more than usual, is one of the things I'm getting with that, first and foremost. You might even have like old aches and pains, is something they're showing me, as you're releasing. And one thing that can happen, they're showing it to me, is that like one thing they talk about in Reiki sessions is when you're receiving a Reiki session, sometimes old like injuries or aches and pains can kind of like start to ache a little bit again. And then like it kind of releases, and then it's like healed. So you may, some of you, probably not all of you, be even like feeling something like that going on, interestingly enough, as things kind of, as healing rolls through everyone. And of course it's going to be a little bit different for everyone. For some people it might be like literally something happened physically in your healing. For others it's emotional, or it's about the past. But the other thing they said is it's fast. So you're not going to be in it for like months on end. It's like a week or two is what I'm hearing. So you guys will just be in varying degrees of that is the first thing I'm getting first and foremost here. Next message here, they showed me a grasshopper, and it was really interesting because the grasshopper was showing up a lot the past 2 lives, especially 2 lives ago. But it was about the word, they gave me the word like walls. Like there was this grasshopper and then there were like walls around it, almost like closing in. And really what they wanted to say is you are not going to miss your opportunity. Stop worrying. So if any of you were like worried about missing an opportunity or missing a window or missing out on something that's important to you, I don't feel like you are, especially like bigger dreams or bigger things in life. So give me 1 second just to see how they want to clarify this one. If you're worried about missing a window about something that's really important to you, you're not going to, is the message that they have there. Grasshopper does usually symbolize leaps of faith when it shows up in readings. And, sometimes, okay, they want me to backtrack a second. So what do they want me to say about that here? I feel like we've been saying this, or I've been being guided to say this the past couple weeks for a reason, but it is kind of like a time of taking leaps, and they're saying like maybe not right now, but soon is another way they're clarifying it, where there might be like leaps like that coming up here for different ones of you. Next thing they showed me was like a gold medal, and they just said there are a lot of rewards or awards coming in karmically, so like a lot of people being rewarded, especially in December is the month I'm hearing. So I know we're in November now when I'm filming this, and if you're watching this way in the future, like on YouTube, it'll just be like next month or 2 is what I'm getting, which is good. So, I mean, I don't know if I need to go super deep into that one, but that's another message. The next message here, they showed me, they went from gold and they went to silver, but they didn't show me like a silver medal. They just showed me silver. They said, some of you think like you're not good enough. Like it's like at something, like you don't think you're good enough. So let me see if they want to clarify this more deeply for you guys here. Like you don't think you're good enough at a job or at relationships or a business you want to run, but I feel like you're more than good enough. Or if you really don't feel like you're good enough, like you're going to be shown how to be good enough is something I'm getting as well for all of you in a good way. So it was just a quick reminder, like some of you think you're not good enough, but you are. The next thing that was coming up, they showed me a car. It was actually more about a lot of movement coming up in the next few months, like moving jobs, changing careers, travel, moving around, etc. They also gave me this phrase, like they showed me a chessboard, and I wouldn't take this literally, it's definitely more of a metaphor, but the pieces of the chessboard of life are rearranging. So they could just kind of show what I got, and what they showed me was like God moving the pieces around. So a lot of people are getting, there's a couple messages in this. One, a lot of people are getting second chances with something they jumped in as a message, like it could be a project or something you wanted to do years ago, or maybe even recently and you gave up on it, or something, or you're getting like a chance to do something similar, or maybe the same thing. I feel like it leans to career, honestly, is something I'm really hearing over and over again with that message. The other thing they just said is like you guys are being brought to a better spot for you, which is good. But you might have to be a little bit patient, because it reminds me, as I'm saying that with like the patient, they're showing me the giraffe looking at the long term again, that I talked about earlier, where it was like long-term trajectory, things get better. And again, not saying things can't get better in short term, it's just what they're showing me. So a lot of things moving around. Next message I had was I was just kind of sitting with like, okay, what's going on with everyone in general? And a couple lives ago, I think like one of the main messages for everyone was like, people are upgrading. Like you guys are upgrading. And I do feel like it's still finalizing upgrades is the message I was getting. Like we're kind of still in that phase. It doesn't surprise me because of the eclipses, and I'm hearing the word eclipses. They're saying like eclipses, like that might be what spurred the upgrades or caused it. I don't know. I'm just hearing we're headed to better, which is good. They're also highlighting Thanksgiving right now. I know Thanksgiving is an American holiday and not all of you are from America. So give me 1 second to get the message for everybody fully, if that's good. I'm getting this message like around, so I believe it's the 24th is Thanksgiving this year, and they're just saying like around Thanksgiving things are going to be finalized regarding that with the upgrades. And you might also see where things are going a bit more in life, like in your trajectory. Like right now things might seem a little bit clouded, or maybe the dust is still settling energetically from what we've been through recently are the words I'm hearing. And you're going to see a bit more clearly around that time period. Of course, if you're watching way in the future, give yourself a month. Next thing here, they just kind of showed me fish. And they were just giving this message of like flow with life's changes and you'll be in a much better spot. So what does that mean? I think sometimes like that is just the message that people hear and they get a lot more out of like those short parts. But if I were to go deeper into the message and like what that could mean or what else might help you to hear regarding that one, I do get a message like life may have been showing you what you need to change for a while. For some of you, maybe not all of you, and maybe you've been resisting that change, or you've been thinking like, no, I want to go right, even though the universe keeps telling me to go left, or, you know, straight even, if you want to stop doing something you're doing. But if you're flowing with the direction the universe is moving things and like shifting things and changing things, it gets a lot easier than trying to force your will. And I know there can be a bit of like a give and take between like, what are you manifesting? What do you want? And like, what's the divine plan? Or like, what's source trying to do in this situation? And I know it can be a bit of a co-creation, and it doesn't always make sense to just, I don't know. In my experience, viewing yourself as like powerless and not being able to change things is not the right move either. It doesn't help, it doesn't work. So I think it can be a bit of a bit of a dance, if you will. So, but I do feel like right now there's a lot of flow to what's happening. And if you're willing to flow with it instead of trying to be rigid, even with a belief system is something I'm hearing, or in how things have to go, things get a lot better and unfurl much more gracefully, in case you need to hear that. I'm also getting a message of like, I would be working harder. For a lot of you, it's just kind of if that resonates, if that pertains to you, like just put a little bit more effort into something, whether it's probably job, it's probably going to be work, because they're literally saying work harder, or like a business. It could be a relationship. I don't feel like it is though. They're instantly correcting me like, no, when I say relationship. So it might be a good idea just to put a little bit more like work into something is just kind of something I'm getting as well there. So anything else that would be for the highest good. They're giving me the word revamping here. They're kind of showing this like landscape change, but it's almost like a giant, what's the word? I can't remember. It's like a gardening tool. It's like a spade. It's like a giant spade, and it's kind of like scooping up the landscape and like changing it a little bit. So what's the message here regarding that here? You know, I'm just getting this message, like sometimes following eclipses or things like that, we don't think our life is going to change very much, but that it does, or it can. And there is a total revamp going on under the surface where like we're being reconstructed, things are being reconstructed. And it might be a bit slow. It might not be like you wake up tomorrow and everything's different. It's more just like after all this energetic stuff reconstructs, then all the physical reconstructs on top of it, or however you want to view it. And we just haven't totally seen the physical restructure yet following what we've gone through energetically, but we're going to. And I'm getting the months like December, January, if you're here live now with this live. If you're watching later on, give yourself a month or two is what I'd say. But a lot is revamping, so I'd be patient right now while everything restructures. And I do feel like it's for the better. I don't feel like the universe makes us go through energetic shifts for the worse. I don't think that makes any sense to me. Sometimes our life circumstances or our physical circumstances might be like working things out of our system by like triggering us or getting us to heal something or see the truth in something, so our beliefs shift and we open up to this other thing life has for us. But I don't really feel like life is ever trying to make things worse per se, long term, or in our lives down the road. And I feel like if something does happen, it's a lesson, it's for the greater good. As long as you're living your life for the greater good is something I'm getting as well. Boom. And sorry, I was also getting a message along the lines of, I feel like this is turning into a talk more than a reading, but what was the message here regarding that next part? I kind of lost it. I'm sorry, guys. I kind of lost what they were saying, but if I sit with it for a second, usually they tell me again. Angels, please tell me again. Because we were talking about, oh well, I'm going to move on, and then if they usually it comes back around right after I move on. The last thing they're showing me here is like just like a starfish. And I feel like I've brought this up in a few different lives, but they're bringing it up again, and they're giving me the words ancient healing with this starfish that they're showing me. And one message I'm getting is like, you guys are letting go of something you haven't let go of in a long time is something I'm hearing. But it could even be like ancestral patterns is another thing they're saying. Or it's either this lifetime it's been a long time, it's ancestral, or something along those lines is healing. And they keep showing this like visual. It reminds me of, I don't know how to describe it, but like power lines, but it's like, it's in a certain pattern and then it like restructures and it's just a lot cleaner. And think of in like the future how we'll probably have like, I know we're jumping a little bit, but like clean energy, like sustainable. We probably won't be like burning fossil fuels 100 years in the future. And I'm actually getting we won't be, which is good. So that's a good message. But beyond that, it's kind of like the like ancestral patterns and things like those are becoming like cleaner. It's like more of a pure conduit of source, and it's more spirit and less, and I mean this in a good way, less like human, but by human I mean like human junk, like ancestral junk and things like that. So I just feel like people are becoming cleaner is the way and like maybe you are in some ways, and that's part of the difficulty. If there's difficulty for you right now, is that like that healing or that restructuring in like becoming cleaner conduits of spirit is kind of what I'm getting. And it might not seem like everyone around you that's happening for. I feel like it is in a way though. It just might be more under the surface and subtle than like all of a sudden your super religious mom is like, you know, I'm not saying that's going away overnight. It's more what I'm trying to say. So I feel like I'm stumbling on my words a little bit, but anything else before we wrap up the collective reading for everybody here today? I would just not be surprised if your path changes coming up here. Like, but I feel like it's in bigger ways. It's just kind of like time for that. It's like, there might be a lot of confusion. There might be a lot of disconcerting changes, but again, for the better. And they're just kind of showing paths changing going forward. And those were the words they gave me. So I wouldn't be attached to anything right now, even if it seems like important. Even if it seems like a big thing that the universe is forcing you to let go of or like change, it might be something bigger that's like right around the corner or that comes about after you let go of it. And I wouldn't worry too much about that message. You're not going to lose anything that's so important that it's like, oh, I can't lose that, if that makes sense. So I'm going to close the reading there. I hope all that made sense and was helpful. I know my little sticky note sign fell, so I'm going to let that be what that is. What's the symbol mean on your hat and profile pic? This is actually a channeled Energywork symbol from a modality I received that I called Valeumi. And there have been kind of some changes in like, just because I received another modality, so I might end up like doing something different with Valeumi than I originally did because I was teaching classes and stuff. So it's really just, should it be in the highest good for the highest good? It just does the energy work that's for the highest good pertaining to the meaning of the symbol, if that makes sense. Very helpful. Perfect. So let's move on to the fire signs next, or we can chit chat for a second. I need to drink water. Ooh, excuse me. I think I need, you know, like the wide mouth bottles, like they just like spill liquid everywhere when you drink from them. I think I need to like find smaller mouthed things to drink from. Point. That's the point. What I just did there. Anyways, this is great. I hope this is entertaining for you. So we're going to move to the fire sign, sun, moon, or rising. So if you have a fire sign, sun, moon, or rising, it's for you when you see it. Now that I just spilled water all over my face. So I don't have as much channeled down ahead of time as I normally would for lives. I normally take like an hour before each live or more, and I'm just channeling the messages through. I don't think I had as much time this morning, so we'll just also flow with the messages coming through in addition to what I have channeled down ahead of time. But the first thing that came through for the fire sign, sun, moon, and rising, well, we're switching gears. They're showing me this beetle, actually, and it's really interesting. It's like brown. It has these like black like circles on it, but they're kind of like splotchy. And there's also like a green beetle as well. And they're kind of talking about the beetle's protective shell and how it's protected in some ways, but I want to sit with the message just a little bit longer and see what would be highest message for me to bring through for you regarding it. What's the message? So one of the messages for the fire signs here is one thing about beetles, and I don't know, this is just the message I'm hearing. Sometimes beetles are a bit like overlooked. It's like they're there, they're in the dirt, they're out in nature, whatever. And I know some people probably dedicate their whole lives to beetles, but that's not the point. Some beetles are actually like really cool, like they have really cool colors. They're really unique. They really, I guess, like shine in a way. And they're kind of talking about how perhaps you have been overlooked in the past, or it's like, yeah, there's like a lot of really cool things about you, like you're really cool, but it's like you're kind of overlooked. But the good news is it's like your time, it's more like you're going to be shining more, or people are going to stop overlooking you as much. And it could be at a job situation, but it could also be like on the dating scene or relationships where you're overlooked less and shining more is the message I'm getting. There's just more shine to you than you realize, and perhaps you even overlook yourself is something I'm hearing as they're channeling through the messages. And one, it's time to stop doing that. It's what's the best way to say this? It's time to not overlook yourself, I suppose, and like know you can do certain things in your life, like you can succeed. You do have what it takes is one of the messages that they're saying. And there are things about you people would find interesting or worthwhile. So one thing I'm getting is don't beat up on yourself because you feel like you haven't shined as much as you want to or haven't attained what you want to. The chance for that is still there. Your opportunities are not gone, but you're going to be shining and standing out more is the main message. The first word I had ahead of time, well, they're actually showing me a lightning bug next. I guess we're in bug mode. Bug mode activate, not literally or energetically, but reading-wise, yes. So with the lightning bug here, I feel like I can't remember which reading this came through for, but I feel like I've gotten a reading where it started in a similar way, where there's like lightning bugs, but they almost kind of line up like an airstrip at an airport, and they're kind of like blinking in a fashion. And maybe even was like last week I got a similar message with this one. One message for you guys is like when all seems lost, you're being guided at the last second. And one thing that's kind of flashing in really quickly is I remember, excuse me, there have been times where I was going through like some type of major change, or like I was quitting a job and I needed a new one because I was like moving across the country, and like things didn't really come together until like the last second. Like literally the last day would be like when I'd get the email or the call like for a new job or to like transfer to a new position in the same company and somewhere else in the country or something like that. And like if I hadn't gotten that, then like I would have been not screwed, but it just wouldn't have been good necessarily. Or like finding a place to live, like the last possible second, like something shows up, or something back in the day I could afford would show up or something like that. So is part of the message is like, at the last second, like you'll be guided to something, but it also kind of reminds me of, it doesn't remind me, they showed it to me, those times where like at the last second, like something would work out and the universe would come through. And I feel like you guys are going to be fine, but if you're waiting on something big, it might be at like the last second that it happens. Or if you're really worried about something, it might be like resolved at the last second. But it's going to be okay, is what I'm getting. And I don't feel like the universe will forget you on that. They're showing me tomato soup next, which, what's up with this? I don't think I've been shown tomato soup for a reading before. But what's up with the tomato soup here? So they're showing this tomato soup in particular is surprisingly delicious. And they're kind of showing how, well, I know for me personally, I know this reading is not really about me personally at all. It's more about you, if not fully about you and whatever would be for the highest good. But it's kind of like maybe like tomato soup doesn't sound very appetizing. It doesn't sound good. You never really liked tomatoes growing up, for example. Maybe you did, but then you try this tomato soup and it's really delicious. So I think life is trying to hand you things and you're like, no, I don't want that. Like, no, I don't want tomato soup. No, I don't want tomato soup. No, I don't want tomato soup. But it's like, maybe it's like the best tomato soup of your life, or it's like the best tomato soup maybe not in the world. I feel like that's drastic, but like it's just like really good. And you haven't tried it in years, so you don't realize that you like it. If the universe is trying to like hand things to you over and over again to like try or do, whether it could be anything, it could be a job or something else, like I would try it because it might just be like way better than you realize in life. Even if it's something you've forgotten about, like maybe you used to play music and you haven't played in years, and then you pick up the guitar or whatever again and it feels really good and you keep doing it and it's really healing for you or something. So I feel like the words I'm hearing now are there's something in your life where you don't realize how good it can be because you think it's not going to be good enough, but it's actually more than good enough and you should give it a shot. So hopefully that makes sense to you. And I'm hearing it probably will be obvious. If it's not obvious now, maybe it will be sometime in the future here. The universe gives you a sign that makes it obvious for you. Next message here. There was like a message of, now they're showing me what's up next here. I guess we're on this kind of like autumn foods thing now. So they're showing me this like butternut squash, and it's another soup, interestingly enough. And so what's going on with this soup here? So in this scenario, I know it's an interesting metaphor, but it's almost like you're worried, it's like you're ant-sized in this butternut squash soup. And you're kind of worried about drowning in the flavors of the past. And what does that mean? I know that phrase probably makes no sense as it comes out of my mouth, but maybe it does. And it's kind of like the past has been a certain way and like felt a certain way, and you've had certain experiences and maybe your whole life, and you're either worried about it being the same, or when you get a break from it, you're worried about having to go back to it is kind of the message I'm getting. But the past is done is one of the messages, and you might have some butternut squash soup or whatever in the future, like tastes of it, but it's more like memories, and it's more like in the other flavors you'll be experienced more so than it is like gonna be the rest of your life. So one message is not to worry about the past repeating necessarily, is one way they're phrasing it. Another is don't be afraid of the past, it's gone, is a weird message I'm getting as well. So hopefully that makes sense to you. But I also feel like you're healing from, because it's representing the past, I feel like you're healing from this butternut squash soup and this flavor. And it might be very triggering for some of you right now, but the little triggers of it you taste in the future are more to spur like a release and a healing than they are like the past is coming back. So I would say don't be afraid is one of the messages. I don't feel like I totally nailed what they were trying to get to with that. So give me one more second to sit with the butternut squash soup message here. They're also giving this message of like, if you were like this ant-sized or smaller person, and you only lived in butternut squash soup. I know it's a weird example, bear with me. And like all you knew was butternut squash soup. You might not realize that there are other soups available to try metaphorically in your life or to live in. There are other like experiences, ways of living, ways of doing things, types of relationships. And part of the message as well is you're being called out of butternut squash soup, like the same thing, and called to the new experiences you want. And maybe some of you don't think it's possible because, again, like if it reminds me of like the example of someone like only lived in their hometown their whole life. They never traveled. They never experienced anything different. All they know is like a factory. This is just an example, a factory job, or like at the middle of nowhere, Iowa or something. Which I don't even know if Iowa has factory jobs in the middle of nowhere, Iowa, but it's just an example that's coming through. It's like they might not know there's other things available, or maybe they like kind of conceptually know, like they've read books, they've gone to school, they conceptually realize there's other cultures and experiences, but they haven't really tasted it. So they don't really realize it, you know? And they might not be hungry for anything else if they haven't had a taste for it. So where am I going with this? If you're called to something new, and I would go towards it. I know it's kind of like it's a multifaceted message, and maybe some of you will resonate with one or the other more, or maybe they'll both make sense just in different ways using the same butternut squash soup symbolism. But one, you're being called to something new. Two, I don't feel like the past is going to repeat itself regarding like things that you don't want to taste anymore. So they're showing me beets next, like the vegetable beets. And I'm not sure why we're on this groove here, but I'll roll with it. Like beets can, I don't know, some people really like beets. Beets can be kind of gross. They kind of taste like dirt, but they're also like really healthy. And what's going on here with this message? I feel like I need to like balance this message and just make sure I get it out right. But they're kind of showing me this concept of like, maybe there's certain people you don't like being around, but they're really healthy for you to be around. I feel like it's more about experiences though. I don't feel like this is about people. And I hesitate to say that because I don't want you to force yourself to be around people you like really genuinely don't like to be around. I don't know if that's healthy in and of itself, but as far as what the actual message is for you here, there's a lot of things that are really healthy for you that you might not like at first is the message. Kind of like a kid tasting broccoli for the first time. They're like, I want Cheez-Its or mac and cheese or whatever. And so why is this message coming up here? Like you could even be like working out or exercising. Like you don't like it, it sucks, but it's really healthy for you. I would kind of go towards those things in a balanced way where maybe you don't inundate your whole life with it, but maybe try to add some of that into the palette of your experience where it like doesn't taste the best for starters, but maybe eventually you grow a taste for it or gain a taste for it, or maybe you find a way to include it in the diet of your life, metaphorically, where your experience where it tastes a bit better or it's more palatable. It's just an idea to consider, is something I'm getting. And sometimes you don't like everything that's good for you. I know it's not a fun message per se. Like we don't always like going to the doctor, you know. We don't always like, and I know sometimes there's a whole thing about Western medicine. I get it. Like, I get it. You might not like going to the doctor. You might think doctors are a scam. I totally understand. For me, this is not medical advice, not a licensed physician. I prefer a balanced approach. Like if I'm guided to go to the doctor, I go to the doctor. If I'm guided, I don't need it, then for me, I won't go. But that's me. I'm not saying you should do that. I think a good balance of all the things that as you're guided is a good idea. But anyways, on that note, let's move on to whatever the next message is for you guys here. So the next thing they showed me was corn. And this one I actually did have down ahead of time, but they might want to add more messages in. They showed me, they gave me the word harvest. So there's a big harvest coming soon for you guys. And I feel like this is next month. I feel like this is December if you're watching now, maybe a month or two, or maybe 3 if you're watching in the future. But I feel like it's more a month, honestly. Excuse me. And what is this harvest about here? I do feel like this is like positive experiences. I also feel like this might be like a break or something if you have been working hard or you have been working a lot, like you get some type of break and like reprieve and you're able to either go in a different direction or see what's working and what's not and kind of fix things, so life is better, which is good. I do feel like it's abundance as well, and it could be abundance with like loved ones, it could be monetary, it could be all sorts of different abundance. But I'm also getting the words new experiences. Part of your harvest is new experiences and new things you want to try, which is good, so that's cool. Next message I have here that they want me to get to here. So the first thing that came down for the fire signs was just the word flow. I feel like you are flowing is kind of the message, and I would just, they're showing me magma, like magma flowing from a volcano. And I love sometimes they'll use analogies or like, it's almost like puns, but it's spirit puns. Like it's fire sign, so they show me magma, so but they're showing this magma flowing. Maybe there's a deeper meaning to it besides all that, but what's up with the magma flow here? Because like when magma or lava flows, it consumes all in its path. I feel like that's you right now. It's either like you're unstoppable like that, or that's kind of maybe even how you need to be. And I'm not saying you need to be like a raging inferno that burns everything around you and like burns the people you love or anything. But as far as like, if you have a lot of work to do, taking on all the work you need to do, or taking on opportunities, it's kind of just like being all consuming and not taking it all on in a negative way. Like you don't take on people's energies, right? But taking it all on as in like you're just burning it and like you're forging your path here. There was a quick analogy that jumped to mind, and I want to double check and make sure it's the actual message here. Because one thing that was jumping out to me as I was talking about it was like, when lava stops moving, or it kind of runs out of its heat source, like it cools and it gets hard and it hardens, it becomes lava rock, right? Or obsidian. I can't remember if it like literally becomes obsidian or it becomes lava rock, and in certain conditions it becomes obsidian. But let's see if there's a message for you guys there. They're just saying that doesn't pertain to it, so never mind. Next message here, there was a message of, I would just keep flowing with life to kind of tie that message together. And I would know you're unstoppable as long as you keep going. Next message here, major release. They just had a huge amount of, there was like this visual, I was like, they just showed a representation of the fire signs, a person, and it was like this big like release, but like the release was like water and this huge jumble of like this huge jumble of fish, just like, it all just like released in a weird way. And it wasn't like bad or negative, but the message is like, there is like, it's like you're kind of getting to the root of something that's been plaguing you for a long time, but there is like a major release happening or will soon. Especially as you keep moving forward, kind of like the lava message, you're going to start releasing more. But I feel like if you stop, you don't release, but you want to release. So I would keep going. Next message here, we kind of got that one. So there was a quick message about, they showed me a boat, and it was literally, how boats are like nice. It's like having nice things. And they gave me the phrase having nice things. They said, sometimes you think you can't have nice things, but you can. I know that's a meme, but I feel like you can have nice things. And it literally is about physical objects. And one message for, maybe this is just for some of you, I would be careful with your money if you do want to have nice things like in the future. I wouldn't be spending it all right now. I'd be being smart with it, especially in this time period, and like saving it, maybe investing. This is not financial advice. It's just something to consider. See how you feel about it. But beyond that, I feel like you can have nice things is the message. Next message, this has just been coming through. We're just in this time period. A lot of truth is being unveiled to you. I feel like that's just gonna keep rolling. I don't think that's stopping anytime soon. Next message it was kind of about like highest connection were the words they gave me. And it was just a reminder to do your best to connect with yourself and a source as much as you can in a healthy way. And when I say as much as you can, I don't necessarily mean like you're obsessing over it every second, every day. Like, am I connected? Or things like that. I mean, I think you can just be connected all the time. And like, that's just how you operate in the world. That's the way I do my best to do it. But it was kind of more a reminder, take some time out each day to connect with yourself, to source, whether that's meditating, doing your thing, channeling for yourself. If you do that, pull cards for yourself, sit with yourself and journal. Connect. I heard the words connect with who you are. I don't know if that makes any sense, but connecting more with yourself and taking time with yourself I feel like that can help you connect to source depending on where you're at with that journey. But if you're already someone who channels or does that, I would take time to connect. Um, if you haven't been like channeling, I'm getting this message like your spirit guides miss you. I don't know if that's even how it works. I think I think they're being a little bit funny with that one, but they're just saying your spirit guides miss you. So, and they're of course they're always around, but whatever, you get it. Next message here, grasshopper. Which showed up in the collective, I realized, in the past couple weeks. But I would just, when you know what you want to do, I would take leaps towards it and not just sit pretty. I do feel like this is a time of work. They're showing me what they show me for work, which is usually like, well, I don't need to explain my whole process there, but if you were gonna like stop working, I would not stop working. I'm hearing this phrase like, do not stop working. But the other message is like, when you know what leap you want to take, a leap of faith, do it. Like, leap towards it, put the work in. Don't just expect it to happen is something I'm hearing as well. Like, especially regarding a dream or something you desire, something you want to make happen. Even if it's just like dating someone really attractive is something I'm hearing as an example. It's like, you have to like put the work into like put yourself on the dating websites, or you probably at least have to manifest it in some way, probably put that intention out there. Or maybe not for all of you, maybe you have to do some type of work on yourself so that you're the kind of person that person would be attracted to. Which is not all of you, by the way, it's just an example, but just a reminder there. Anything else for you guys? They're showing me a machine. It's like powered by coal, interestingly enough, and it's kind of old fashioned, but it's like, it's new technology. It is like this. So what's going on with this machine here? There is kind of this like out with the old and with the new thing going on here, or like mentality is something I'm getting. But it's maybe you're not ready to let go of the past yet in some regards, like maybe it's certain people, certain like situations, and that's okay is what they're saying. Because it's like this machine is still powered by coal even when it doesn't need to be. It's like it's supposed to be new, but it's also old fashioned, which is weird. But what's the main message for you guys? What would help you out the most regarding this? They're kind of specifying and clarifying that, like, you know, it is out with the old and in with the new, and if new hasn't showed up yet, it will, is kind of what they're talking about. But they're also pointing to this machine being like a machine of your life, like it's metaphorical, like it's representing your life a little bit. Like there are certain things that might be a little old-fashioned that don't need to be, or it's time to like upgrade those things. So if you find yourself living in the past or living archaically, or you feel like something can be better, I would kind of ask Spirit to bring in the upgraded version of that, or start to bring that in and start to, I don't know if you need to work towards it in this regard, but work towards it or see what you need to do to bring that in. I feel like for that message, ask for Spirit to bring it in, and it will show up, is what I'm getting. So that's it. I mean, I guess the message is letting go of the past. I think we're going to move on to the earth signs here. I feel like they're showing me Celestite, the crystal, which showed up yesterday too. So what's up with Celestite today here? It is about higher connection. I would potentially gravitate towards crystals that have to do with higher connection, and like not just protection is kind of something I'm hearing, or not just a specific chakra. I feel like that's okay too. I would keep doing that, but anything that has to do with higher connection is a good idea to have on hand right now. I feel like you're going to be receiving messages in some way, shape, or form. And if you're newer to this work and you haven't channeled a day in your life, maybe it'll be like a synchronicity or something outside of you, or maybe it'll be through a reading. But I feel like you're going to be receiving messages, and it's important that you're really hearing it, is something I'm getting. So anything to do with higher connection would be good. I'm going to close the reading there. They were showing me this like gemstone necklace with like a symbol in it, and I haven't really seen this symbol before. It kind of reminded me of video games, where it's like, you know how they just like make up symbols for video games to like make it more immersive, or like in movies like Avatar, or I I don't know, the Disney cartoon Atlantis from like the early 2000s. They like make up a language with like made up symbols and stuff. I don't feel like this one's actually made up. I feel like this one actually symbolizes your higher self, which is really interesting. And so why is this showing up here? And they're kind of just saying, what? That's exactly what you were talking about, something that symbolizes higher connection. I'm like, yes, but is there a further message for you guys with that, for the highest good? I'm just going to reiterate what I said. Any type of tool that's like for higher connection is a good idea. And we're going to move on here. I'm going to drink some water and move on to the earth signs. Thanks, Destiny. I'm sure there might be a little bit of a delay before you chat or you type something and then post it, but I beat you to it as far as before it showed up. Also, shout out to the moderators, Destiny, Shine a Moon Girl sometimes here, anyone else who's here I didn't catch. They really make the live just stream better, and they keep chat better and clean, and they help me out so I can focus on the reading, so thank you guys. Feel free to give them a shout out and some love. So I'm gonna give myself like, nope, we're going for it. Fully fast kid. Okay, so earth signs, sun, moon, and rising is for you when you see it. If you're here live, it's here now. It's for you now, excuse me. If you're here on YouTube, it's for you whenever you're seeing it there. So for the earth signs, sun, moon, and rising, they're showing me this concept of tall grass first before we start here. And they're showing this concept of like surprises in tall grass. It's like you're walking through tall grass and there's like a creature that leaps out, or it's a surprise. And right now in your life, it might be like kind of like you are walking through tall grass in some ways, or like you're on an adventure. And it could be business, it could even be about your health is something I'm hearing. Excuse me, there's something in my eye. My physical eye, not my etheric eyes. But at all, they're clarifying. Anyways, coming back to the message here. It's like you're kind of in this adventure, you're going through the tall grass, you're not sure what to expect, and there are surprises for you, is one of the messages coming through just straight up. And a lot of them are good surprises. They're giving me the thing they show me when it's like a good thing to clarify. They're like good surprises, you know, like you're like good kitty, good surprises, which is good, but I just feel like it's very unexpected, like just some of the twists and turns you're on, some of the things that jump out of the tall grass metaphorically at you that are actually really to your benefit is what I'm getting. And maybe is there anything more to this message, or is it just that you guys are going to be surprised? I do feel like this adventure is leading somewhere. I don't feel like you're out in this metaphorical tall grass for no reason. It's like there's a dream you're trying to achieve, or an aspiration, or a target in life you want to hit. And you ventured into this adventure to get this. It's just like, I think maybe you didn't realize how long the journey was, and you didn't realize what surprises were in store. But I feel like the universe is trying to make it fun, so none of it's really all just to like scare you or anything like that. A lot of the surprises are to keep you on your toes, keep you fresh, and keep you excited is something I'm getting as well. So if you're not seeing everything right now, you're just not meant to, is another message. And sometimes life puts us in those time periods for a reason, and we think we should know everything in a situation, and maybe in some level you do. Maybe in some, you know, like source is you are a source. Source knows everything. Since source is you and you are our source, you have access to, you know, that knowing and knowing everything, but maybe it's just not clear to you yet, or you don't feel like you have that in your awareness yet or something like that. But they're just saying like, that's okay. Like, it's okay for life to surprise you. And there's a reason you're not seeing everything, because you're being protected from something. And like the other thing they're saying is that otherwise maybe you wouldn't have gone on this adventure, is something they're saying as well. And like you would have gone in a different direction, but there was something really good for you this way, and you're being protected from the worst is another message I'm getting. The next thing they want me to get to here is I feel like you're completing an old adventure. I know we just talked about this adventure you're on, but I feel like there's some old adventure you're completing, or it's kind of like in video games, you know, they have like quests and you have to complete the quest or something like that. It's like, I feel like there's like this old quest, metaphorically, that's been dragging on, like, and what is this adventure symbolizing? It could even be like a job or like just a work situation that you're wrapping up here or something along those lines, like a business. And you're completing a cycle regarding that or closing a chapter with that. And I feel like it's finally coming to an end. I feel like it's dragged though. I don't feel like this has been like quick. So what else do you need to know about this here? I feel like closing that chapter is going to lead to a lot of abundance is one of the messages I'm getting, or at least the road to a lot of abundance. So I wouldn't drag it out any longer than you have to regarding some type of old endeavor or job or adventure or something that has been going on. I feel like you realize it's time for it to close too. Maybe you've been a bit reluctant, but I feel like it's just taking up space is kind of the message I'm getting. I feel like there's more to it, but it's just time to, you're wrapping that up, you're completing that, it's time to complete that. Next message here, they're showing me like how an adventurer would like wear armor or like leather. And if you guys are familiar with, I used to play Dungeons and Dragons and stuff and be all nerdy like that back in the day. And there was this class of like character called like barbarian, and they were pretty much just like typically depicted as just, you know, big hunky people with leather. They would just like wear leather and like furs, and then they'd have a gigantic like sword or axe or something. As far as what the message is for you guys here, before I rattle on about that, what's the highest message for you here regarding this leather armor thing? So they're kind of showing how like in adventures like that, characters often get like new gear, or as they go through, like if it's a video game, the story, or they complete things, they get new like gear that's like upgraded. It like has better defense, or it has other qualities or magic qualities or something that makes it better than what you were wearing before for the previous phase. And they're kind of talking about like receiving the upgrades and not getting attached to the old armor is the way they're talking about it, where sometimes we get attached to our look or the way things are going, what we have going on, but there's something like better for us, and maybe it doesn't look as cool at first, or you just have an emotional attachment to like your old gear is something they're showing me, but it's time to let that go is also what they're talking about. And it might also pertain to the old adventure a little bit. I feel like there's slightly separate messages though. And why is this important? Why do you need to know this? What else would be helpful for you to know about this? They're just saying the universe is trying to like metaphorically gear you up, you know, now and like going forward, and like upgrade things and don't cling to the old. It's kind of what they're talking about. Because you might really like this leather jerkin or whatever, but maybe the universe has this like high class like crystal magic armor or something really cool, and you don't need this leather jerkin where you're going anymore. You probably need the upgraded gear, or it's just going to make things a lot easier for you. So just accept the upgrades that come your way and don't get attached to the past, which I feel like I said for the fire signs too, but oh well. Next is the message coming through. Next message here. So what else would be good for us to get to? So we're on this like adventure groove, I guess. We were on vegetables and soup for fire signs, so we're on adventure for the earth signs. And they're showing me this chest, like a treasure chest next. And they're kind of showing how like in a video game or maybe in real life, but I feel like this is more like a video game kind of thing. It might be tempting, and usually it's encouraged to just like open all the chests that you can and get like all the stuff and the loot and the gear or whatever that you can from these chests. But I feel like you don't want to waste your time with fake treasure, or they're giving me the words like fake treasure. Like sometimes there's like a treasure chest and there's like nothing in it, or it's like not that great. But there is like a treasure chest that's specifically for you that the universe is trying to point you towards. And I feel like I've said the word job like 800 times this live already with the different readings I've been doing. But I feel I'm getting the word job. Like it could have to do with a job, or like a change you're making or something you're headed towards. And you might be headed towards like some type of legendary artifact, like this horn that like, I don't know, summons a great hero or something or other. But like you keep getting distracted by like 5 gold pieces in a chest, or like you open a chest and there's like rainbow trout or like fish in it. And it's like, that's great. You can eat the fish, I guess. I guess depending on how fresh or not it is. But it's like, I feel like there's something specifically for you that the universe is trying to point you to, but you keep getting distracted. And I feel like if you keep getting distracted, the universe is going to cut all the other crap out and be like, hey, this is the thing. So I don't know if I would worry about that. And I don't think you'll miss the other like treasure or whatever when it's gone. I just really what the message is, besides what I already said, if there's anything else to summarize it or help you out. One, I would try to get really clear on what you really want, and 2, try not to get distracted by a bunch of shiny things when you are clear on what you want. So next message here, I'm going to read the kind of just what came through ahead of time now, because I haven't really been reading those yet. But the first message that came through, they kind of showed me like a flying saucer, and they were just kind of talking about like just strange events. And this didn't really seem, maybe it's important, but I don't think it seemed that important to me when I wrote it down. But they just said like there might be a lot of strange events coming in, like strange stories, strange things happening in your life. And they were kind of like, there's no worries, it will be okay. It's just strange. As far as like why that's important, I think we kind of just question ourselves when strange things happen, or maybe we question our life. I don't think the universe wants you to worry. I think it just wants you to enjoy the strangeness. And strangeness doesn't have to be bad. It can be like a cool, for the highest good of the light, supernatural experience. Or it could be like someone's alien story or something. And I don't know if I want to delve into that today, but that's just kind of something they're talking about there. And sometimes strange events are leading us somewhere, or it's trying to teach us something more about life and showing us there's more to our reality than we realize. So I would maybe listen to it in that way, but don't necessarily buy every single thing people are telling you about their strange experiences. Because maybe someone wants to convince you that under Earth people are real, and maybe you intuitively get that they're not real. Like, you don't have to buy it, but maybe there's more to our reality than was led on to us when we were a kid, is kind of what they're saying. Next message here. So this was a really weird one, but if you guys recall, I don't know like what countries, I haven't really checked in like what countries do or don't have the show Sesame Street, which is a really popular one when I was a kid, and I don't remember if it's still around or what, but they showed me the character Big Bird from Sesame Street, and the message was really weird. It was like, sometimes we do not realize we've grown up, and it's kind of like you might be like older than you realize, like with the age that you act, or like internally. But there were like 2 different messages with this one as well. Like you might not realize how old you act. I feel like it's a good thing. I feel like it's about maturity. The other thing was like, it's also about like growing up quickly. It's like the universe is growing you like internally in a good way. And it's not about like physically aging and dying. It's more like gaining wisdom. I'm hearing the phrase like acting our age, but I feel like it's more like, not in like a weird crusty way, like acting the way of like an older person, but in like a wise way, acting like your age or acting older than your age. I also feel like the universe does not want us to act childishly right now. I think childlike and having like the joy you had as a kid, and like those qualities, and having that your inner child integrated, some might say, is like good, or integrating trauma from childhood is good, but it's not like a good time to act childish. So I would keep that in mind as well. I feel like I'm not saying you have been acting childish, but if you feel like you have been, I feel like the universe is trying to grow you out of that. I don't feel like that's all of you though, and I'm definitely not trying to like insult you. Next message here, growth process. So there was more messages on growth. Like one of the messages, like there might be time periods where like with growing or like with a growth process, like things are a little bit more strenuous than others. And it's kind of like how the concept of growing pains, when like, what growing pains are. I would be gentle on yourself because you are growing quickly is one of the messages for the earth signs, where maybe our tendency is to beat up on ourselves because that worked in the past. Like maybe that worked in the past and that's why we carried that into our present. It's like maybe you got something out of that, or it caused you to be better or something like that. I feel like that's no longer going to work is one thing I'm hearing. It might even be detrimental, or at least hopefully it's more neutral, but I don't think it's going to work anymore, beating up on yourself. I feel like being gentle on yourself is going to work because you'll begin to extract the lessons and the wisdom instead of trying to punish yourself to be better is something I'm hearing. And this could literally be like you trying to gain a skill and beating yourself up when you don't do as well. Or it could literally be like how you're acting in the world as a person, you beating yourself up if you don't do as well. Take it as it resonates there. It's going to be a bit different for each of you. But being gentle on yourself is going to work better than beating up on yourself in like every area in like a positive way. So keep that in mind. And it kind of reminds me of like plants. Those like studies where people like talk nicely to the plants and they grow, but then like I think, and don't quote me on this, I don't know if I'm mishmashing studies together in my brain or not, but I think when you talked bad to the plants, they like didn't do as well. Or like if you were like to, even if like you were just like energetically forced like judgments and like negativity on the plants or like ill will, like the plant would like exhibit a distress signal or like wouldn't do as well. I think in certain studies they did that as well. So it's kind of like, don't literally treat yourself like a plant, but metaphorically as pertains to that example, treat yourself like a plant and talk nicely to yourself and encourage yourself. And I don't know why they're reminding me of this, but I remember there was a study where it was like country music helps like plants grow better than like other forms of music. I don't like country music, and I'm maybe it was more like old style country music than, I don't know, why am I talking about this? Maybe it was more old style country music than the new kind, but why am I talking about this? I would just be doing things that are nourishing to yourself as another message popping in as I'm talking about that are going to help you grow, and stay away from the things that are going to stunt your growth, if anything. I don't think your growth will be stunted, by the way, but it doesn't hurt to help your growth instead of harm it or slow it down or work against it. Next message here. I do feel like you are heading to a place where you can flourish instead of just survive, was the message coming through. So you're heading to a place where you can flourish big time. Job, situation, opportunity, family situation, relationship, etc. So I don't remember typing all of that, and that's starting to happen more where I channel the messages and then I just forget them before I do the reading, which is fun, I guess, but I don't forget all of them, but I just don't remember writing like you're heading to I don't remember saying flourish instead of just surviving. So if you feel like you're just surviving, I feel like you're heading to a place where you can flourish. And I feel like if you have moves you can make to help with that, I would take those at the right time when it feels right. I actually feel like you're already headed there. They're clarifying. They're saying you're already headed there. It's just going to show up. So, but I would still be taking action anyways and keep heading there. Next message. They just, for some reason, gave the message, you're more than a pretty face. You are worthy of success. So they showed me like floral, like a flower bouquet with that. So I don't know if you need to hear that, but there you go. Next message so there was this one was weird too. And I might need to sit with this one for a second, but it was a message of like being brought out of the dinosaur age, but it was like about your belief system. So it was like in some way, shape or form, you being brought out of like the quote unquote metaphorical dinosaur age. And I feel like it's about a belief or like a belief system or like some way you view yourself or something like that. And it's like as you do that, you're being brought to being in the future, whether it's like ahead of your time or ahead of the curve or like ahead of schedule in your growth or something like that. And sometimes we don't realize we have these archaic belief systems from when we were like 7 running the show in some way where we think like, oh, this is like a weird one popping into my head. I don't think it's probably going to be all of you or even most of you, but it's like all people who wear black are bad people or something like that. Like they're showing me something weird like that, or something that's like really outdated. It doesn't like really track with reality. And you're being brought out of that. I'm hearing the word finally as well. And almost just being brought to ahead of your time. And some of you are ahead of your time already. It's just like the last vestiges of either ancestral healing or something from childhood or just something archaic being worked out of your system that, as the phrase goes, no longer serves you. I feel like if I had, never mind, I'm not going to say it. But that's kind of it as far as what I had. They're showing me quartz crystal next as well, and like clear quartz. It's clear. Give me the word clear as well. I would potentially, this is a weird one, sit with clear quartz and like ask it to clear you. And you're not asking it to take on the energy that it's clearing away from you. You're asking it to just kind of clear your system, show you what being clear is really like, is something weird I'm hearing, but it's more energetic, I'd say. In any type of crystal grid with clear quartz to like clear a path in your life and to like clear the energies in your life for the highest good, and like would be a good idea. Even like to dispel darkness is what I'm hearing if any of you are dealing with that. And then you could, if you want to, you could put a crystal that signifies abundance in the middle of it and then clear a path to abundance as well. So it's kind of a multifaceted grid, but black tourmaline, something green, like emerald or green aventurine or something like that, and then like clear quartz and maybe something gold if you have it, like pyrite, or even like a yellow, I don't know, like a natural citrine. They didn't like natural citrine, but that's, and maybe something blue. I know sometimes like when I start channeling through crystal grids, it's like all of a sudden like 20 crystals come through, so I apologize. It was really simple and then it wasn't. But the crystals I'm getting, if you're really interested in it, are clear quartz. And the visual I'm getting, it doesn't have to be this, is like a bunch of like clear quartz points like around something in the center, and they're all pointed into like a green crystal, like green aventurine. Then you have like black tourmaline around that, and then they were also adding something gold. Then maybe something blue and or purple is what I'm getting, like amethyst or dumortirites or celestites, or, you know, I'll let you figure that out. And if that's all too complex for you, I would just sit with a clear quartz crystal and see what you feel guided to do regarding the grid. Because if you're newer to crystal grids, that might be intimidating to put all that together. But if you know, you know, I guess if you know what you're doing with that, I would do it. So, and just do whatever else you feel like doing intuitively with it. I'm going to close the reading there. Hope that made sense and was helpful. I feel like there's a lot clearing out for you guys as a final message, like a lot clearing out of the way, a lot clearing out of you. And I'm also giving this message like you're ready. I feel like you don't realize you're ready for either a new beginning or something new, but you really are. And I'm just hearing a message like life is going to conspire to get you to the new you you're meant to be. And sometimes we don't realize the old us is archaic. I guess they're kind of clarifying that, one of those last messages that we were talking about, until it's gone and we're living in the new us and living in the new reality, which you're headed towards very rapidly, by the way. That's what Spirit's kind of growing you into. So I would just not be attached to anything right now, especially yourself, which is a really weird message, but that's just something I'm getting. I guess it reminds me of the gear upgrade message that we talked about earlier and the adventure messages, right? So the last thing they're showing me is selenite, as they're telling me to close it there. And I feel like, because we talked about the clear quartz dispelling darkness, I feel like selenite is usually the crystal you would use for that, at least in my mind. So maybe you'll want to include that. But I just feel like that's also a good crystal for you right now, would be selenite. Anything else? They are showing me this crab, and you know, I feel like this is the last message because they keep telling me to close the reading, but I keep getting these like last messages. If you know how like if you encounter a crab at the beach and it pinches you, you're probably gonna leave it alone. And they're kind of saying that as like a barometer to use in your life. Like if something pinches you, leave it alone. Don't go there is kind of what I'm getting. Like I'm getting a message like if you bring up like a topic with like your dad or something as an example, and it's like about the past and he kind of like gets a little snippy with you, it's like just don't go there right now. Or maybe you try to start a business and like it just like pinches you. It's like, okay, not the right business right now. It's like you're assigned to at least for now, like not go there, if that makes sense. Okay, I'm going to close it there. Hope that was helpful and made sense. Earth signs, sun, moon, and rising. We're going to the air signs next. And I'm going to drink water first, or the mods are going to yell at me. Oh, so air signs, probably more destiny. I think it's going to be destiny. But air signs, sun, moon, and rising. You too, Destiny. Okay, so air signs. I'm gonna get new signs. So, hey Lena, good to see ya. You've been on my mind recently, weirdly, the past couple of days. So I'm not surprised to see ya. But next message here. Hey, extra small popsicle. Because Destiny is awesome. Destiny is awesome, Marina. I second that. Thanks for the guitar, Lena. We're going to move to, so air signs, sun, moon, or rising. It's for air signs, even though the sign fell, so don't worry about it. So let me see, where would be the highest and best place for me to start here regarding the air signs. They want me to start with what I wrote. So they just gave me the word success, and they said, you are heading towards it. So it's like a business win, it's a life win, it's finally winning. Don't stop is kind of what they said as well. So with the don't stop message, it's kind of like, I feel like one is like if you get the win, don't stop. But if you start winning, don't stop. And also don't stop just because I said you're heading towards a win. And they kind of showed this example. I didn't like the example, but it's not always about what I like when I'm doing these. Like, I just don't like the war message. Like in a war, like they showed it as like a medieval like fight. Like if you struck down a soldier and then stopped, like you'd be run through, like you'd be done. So it's like you don't strike down one soldier and like stop. Like you have to kind of keep going. So I feel like you're headed towards success and like win, but you need to keep going is the message. They also showed the next message of you, like they're showing like a whale as well, but you breaching the surface of the water. There was like someone who was like swimming and they like breached the surface of the water. And it was kind of just a message of like being able to breathe in life momentarily. So if you go, so it's like you kind of been underwater, you get to the surface, you're able to like breathe in life momentarily. One of the messages with you is like, if you go back down under the surface of the water, metaphorically, you'll have your wits about you more. You'll be more able to handle life. So you're not like stuck underwater was something they wanted to say as well. One of the messages they're adding into that is don't worry about your life in a way. Either you can handle it or you will be able to, even if it's felt overwhelming in the past is something I'm getting. And again, you're heading towards a big win. So you might even just be getting a break from work is what that is, that breaching the surface of the water. So I wouldn't overthink it or this message. Next message, fully flask, good that they want me to get to for you guys here. So they're kind of showing for like, how air and just, I don't know if it's air signs in general, but I don't like to lump, whatever. I'm just gonna get the message out. They're showing this like this concept of like just in the air, like kind of airy fairy almost, but that's not the right way to phrase it. But you know how like flower petals just kind of float in the air, or like dandelion seeds just like float in the air. And they're kind of showing like you being like that, where you just kind of float in the air. But it's like really a good idea to like ground and get really present like with your life and do your best not to be airy fairy about things. Like even if it's just in the next week, I'm hearing in the next week. And like stay grounded and like either put your head down and work or do something along those lines. I just feel like floating's not a good idea energetically right now. It's a good idea to be like here and like solid. Otherwise you might miss some things. It's just something they're saying as advice. Next message is there was kind of like this message. They want me to skip it. So we're going to the next one. Which one? So I know I've kind of already said this in some ways, but they gave me the word angels. And it was more like the angels were, I'm always kind of talking to the angels. Or that's like those are like some of the main beings I work with, I guess you could say, like source, angels, spirit guides. But it was very particularly like from the angels. Or it was very particularly like angels saying this to me. And they were just kind of saying like, you have to stay on your game. Like you can't really lollygag. You can't really give up. It's like, so it was kind of just like stay on your game was the message, especially regarding work. But they were also just saying like, also be kind. So I don't know if you need to hear a reminder to be kind, but they were reminding you to be kind as well. to yourself and others. But I also feel like kindness is going to make the difference. I feel like this is for everyone, not just like the air signs. It's like being genuinely kind can move mountains and will move mountains in the future, because people are starting to acknowledge that kindness is a strength and not something that holds you back. And it's not always necessarily about giving in order to get something. It's more just like cultivating yourself to be kind, and that's how you operate. And you can still have boundaries, you can still be firm, and if you can still have self-defense if you need self-defense or anything like that. It doesn't mean roll over, be a punching bag, be a doormat. It just means you're operating from a kind place, but also from a strong place, and that's just how you are. It's not like I don't know, hopefully that makes sense. Anything else on that? I'm just getting like being kind wins the game, so that's just perhaps a key to winning for you. So one of the messages that came through is like you're being healed from something that went sideways in your life big time. And it could be like recent, it could be in the distant past, but if anything's gone sideways, you're being healed from it. There was like a quick message as well. Like they just kind of showed you going about your business. It was more out in nature. I don't know how much the whole visual matters, but the universe was watching over you, and it was like if you missed a detail as you were going about your business or your work, it would kind of like reach over and like fix it for you. So I feel like you are kind of divinely protected regarding details. I'd still try to get grounded like we were talking about earlier, but the universe is watching over you regarding certain details in your life, so you're not missing anything important and like going down the wrong path or a rabbit hole you don't want to go down is something I'm getting. It's like if you were building a hut and like you did something where the hut was going to collapse overnight on top of you, like the universe would fix it is something I'm getting. So that's a good message. I'd say you're kind of just protected regarding certain details that like that. So one of the things that came through as well was they showed me the moon. It was like the moon tarot card, but this was a really different message because they were like, just if you feel like you're in a moon phase, I don't feel like all of you are, but either you're in one or it's like coming up. And moon phases can be like confusion, like you're not really sure what's going on or what's coming, or could have to do with illusions, I guess. I don't feel like it really has to do with illusions this time. I feel like it's more confusion and like you're not sure what's coming. You're just trying to move forward. One of the messages, like if you're in anything like that, whatever a moon phase means to you, it's like actually hatching for the highest good. It's hatching something like, sorry for the pause there. It's like not just for nothing. And I feel like it hatching something, and it's like a gift. It's a good thing. It's like unexpected. It's like the moon, the phrase they gave me was really weird. It's like the moon comes out and then bam, baby. And I'm not saying you're going to have a baby. It's more just like something's being created because of it, and it's not just like another moon phase, if that makes sense. So what else would be highest much for me to bring through for the air signs? Sun, moon, and rising right now here. So they are showing me this like massive ship in the ocean. Like it's more of like, it's like the Titanic or something. I don't think it is the Titanic, but it's like that kind of a ship. And it's kind of listing to the side, and it looks like it might sink. One message is, it's just a positive message. Like if anything big in your life sinks, like something better is coming in to replace it. The other message with that is things only go sideways for a reason, is kind of what they're talking about. And it was kind of also a message like, because they had something similar ahead of time, like it's just showing you something more important, like it's not punishment, and something better is coming in. So I don't really feel like you're losing out, and you might even like see the ship going down metaphorically. You're like, oh, that's interesting. I actually feel like you're gaining from this long term. That's just the message they had on that, which is really interesting. They're showing me like a spaceship next. It's like the lunar, like the moon landing from the 60s, and they're showing like an astronaut on the moon with like that space landing spaceship thing, whatever it is. And what's up with the message here? The message is about going further than ever before. Kind of like when people first went to the moon, it was going further away from Earth than ever before. I feel like you're going further in life than ever before soon, like in the next couple months, maybe even over the next year, like with a project, with success, with your healing, even with getting results, it's like maybe you would always stop after a certain point, or like before something would get to a certain point or a certain success. But I feel like you're going all the way is the message I'm getting with that one, and you're meant to. So I would do that. And I feel like one of the messages, that's not where they want me to go. What's the message for you guys here besides that? Hopefully everything is good. I feel like the universe just wants to take you further than ever before, and that's where you're going. So, and like, again, the examples I'm hearing for that are like business success, but even things like personal healing, even success in relationships. So take that as it resonates, I'd say. They're showing this like jet stream. It's almost like a statue. It reminds me of this game that I used to love as a kid. And it was like The Legend of Zelda. It was like Wind Waker or something. I think I played this when I was like 10. And in this game, there were like these statues that would have like this intense gust of like wind blowing out of them to kind of keep the character from, I suppose, accessing certain areas of the game too early, or it would just kind of keep the player from entering that area until they had the proper gear. But really the message for you is a little bit different. They're showing this like statue blowing this really intense wind, and it almost looks like either Mayan or it looks like the Easter Island heads. You know, it's more just like a statue head. And it's like you trying to go back to the past, but the wind's blowing you, and it's really difficult to go back to the past. And as soon as you get close, it like blows you away, and you kind of have to go back to like the present and the future is something they're showing me. It was kind of just like you can't go back to the past was the message. Like there's no going back to the past, and like don't try. And it's almost like if you do manage to fight all that wind and get to the statue and like get to the past, it's like there's nothing there for you. It's like it's just a statue blowing wind. Like you it's like and maybe you could use it to propel you forward, but really just don't go back to the past is the message there. There is more with the moon, so let me see what the message is for you regarding the moon. They're kind of just showing how the moon works in phases, but they're also saying like your life goes in phases. It's not necessarily like directly correlated with the moon's phases right now. It's more just like how the moon operates in phases, and like how you're in a good phase right now is something I'm getting, or you're headed towards a good phase if you don't feel like you're in one yet. They're giving me the words intense healing. I know healing was like a big theme of like just the whole collective right now for this reading. But as far as like intense healing, this is kind of going to sound a little bit weird, maybe, but I wouldn't necessarily focus on your healing. I'd be open to it. I would focus on your life and like business or whatever you want to focus on that would move you forward, and whatever the universe is telling you to keep going with because you're headed towards success, and let the healing take care of itself or come up as it will. Because if you're overly focused on healing, you're not going to make much progress. Like you might just be in like healing cycle after healing cycle after healing cycle after healing cycle. But if you focus on like the gold or like where you want to go, the healing kind of takes care of itself as you need it, as you step towards things, instead of like you being stuck in a healing cycle of crap is the message I'm getting for anyone who needs to hear that. And I know that can be tempting to just like only focus on our healing because that's what we're often told to do. But what if you moving forward is going to cause you to heal, because you'll have to work on the stuff that comes up that either would otherwise prevent you from moving forward, or it's like in order to have the relationship you want, you have to move forward and like go through the future relationship to heal the past stuff, because that's like what heals the patterns in yourself, or heals the anxious mind about relationships, as a partner that puts you at ease. And you know, sometimes you attract like a more healed version of the same pattern to heal it further. But what if moving forward is what's going to heal you and get you to a better place, more than staying stuck in a healing like loop, is the way it's being presented to me as information, in case you need to hear that. They're showing me the sun next, but it's like the sun is a gemstone, which is really interesting. And this is for the air sign, sun, moon, and rising. What's up with the sun gemstone? It's kind of like, you know, when the sun is too bright, we can't see. Excuse me. Like when the sun is shining too brightly, it's difficult to see, like when you're driving on the road or it shines through a window and like you are used to this dark room or like cave, and then all of a sudden like your eyes are having trouble adjusting. Why is this important? What's the message for you guys though? I feel like the universe wants you to head, this is going to sound weird, but I'm going to ask them to explain it more. The universe wants you to head towards the lights anyways. Like things that seem so bright you think you can barely hold on to it, or maybe even things that seem too good to be true. And of course, like that message requires a little bit of discernment on that one, because I'm definitely not saying head towards the Nigerian scammer who wants to give $1 million to your bank accounts. That's not what I mean by that. It's more like a life that you think is too good to be true, like to have. And the universe almost wants you to kind of, not in a negative way, but like cling to those things, or like see that as your North Star and head towards it anyways, even if you feel like it's too bright or it's too much for you. Because one, I don't think it is. I feel like your eyes will adjust. Two, I think you're just not used to that. Whether it's you're not used to, well, hopefully this isn't you, but some of you might just not be used to things being good, or you might not be used to things going your way, or maybe you're not used to being healed is something I'm getting as well. I know we just talked about that, but I would head towards that thing that seems too bright anyways. Because I feel like you're going to be okay if you do. I don't feel like anything bad's going to happen. I don't feel like you're going to metaphorically go blind or anything like that, if I can get the words out of my mouth. But is there a better way to wrap this message up before we move on here? They're also clarifying it, like sometimes when the sun shines too brightly, we're scared. Because we're like, when's it going to go away? Or like, is this going to burn me? Or is this too good to be true? I would stay in it anyways. Whatever that means to you, if that makes sense to you, something in your life makes sense regarding that. Like, it could be a career that's really easy. It could be a business that's taking off, or a relationship that's going well, maybe. It's like, stay in it is kind of what they're talking about. But that's it. We're going to close the reading there. They're showing me a cooler, you know, like that you would put ice and like drinks in next. And you might be expecting life to get cooled off in some ways, but I'm getting it's just getting started. It's kind of something I'm getting. I don't feel like you're going to get cooled off, and I don't feel like life is going to get cooled off anytime soon is something I'm getting, interestingly enough. And maybe, yeah, you'll still get breaks or vacations or whatever like that, but I don't know why I'm saying this. I don't feel like your life is over, first and foremost, and I don't feel like life is done heating up for you, but I'm kind of half and half on that. I don't feel like it's bad. I want to say it's good, but I'm kind of like, it might just be, it is what it is, you know? It is what it is. So keep that in mind. And it's almost like the universe is refining you in a fire, or like in a boiling lava, is something they're showing me. And maybe that's the brightness they were talking about as well. I just feel like you can handle it, and it's what you need. And staying in the form you were in before you were in the fire, being refined and being reshaped, was not the place to be. So you're on the right track, even if it doesn't seem like it. They are showing me a feather next, and they're just kind of reminding you, you can ask for angelic support and help every day, and that might lighten any loads that are going on. I'm going to close it there because they're saying to close it there. So I hope that was helpful and made sense. And did whatever was for the highest good for it to do. So we're going to go to, thank you, Destiny, water signs after I drink some water. And then we'll probably do a full channel mode, and maybe we'll do guitar as well, but I'm not prepared for that, but that's fine. Oh, thanks for the hand hearts. You're welcome, White Butterfly 999. Oh my gosh. I think I need to never mind. My back just feels more compressed than usual. Maybe it's my posture. So we're moving to the water signs, sun, moon, and rising. And I don't know if the sign will stay up, but we'll see. So if you have a water sign, sun, moon, or rising, it's for you when you see it. Got my crystals preparing for a grid. Heck yeah. I hope it's awesome. I don't know why I want to say this right now, but one thing never mind. Maybe I'll say it later. Let's jump into the reading. So water signs, sun, moon, and rising. Where would be highest? So for me to start with you. They're showing me amethyst for starters. Some of you don't realize how connected you are, whether it's to source, to spirit, to God, to your spirit guides, to the angels, maybe even to other people, but I don't think it's a bad message at all. I feel like this is positive, and I feel like the universe is going to help you realize that in a good way, which is good. I feel like the universe is also healing your connection. Not that it's been damaged, it's just like it could be past life stuff or ancestral stuff where something's hindering the connection or getting in the way, or maybe there's like a fear. And one, the universe wants you to know it's safe. Two, the universe wants to let you know like it's healing. So things are going to be healing for you regarding that in big ways, and really soon. I don't feel like this is it is a long-term message, like you're connected. I don't feel like it's long-term as in the healing is going to be long and forever and stuff like that. Next message here for you guys. I guess we're on the gemstones here. There's going to be topaz or like just yellow crystals. Like they're also showing me, they're giving me the word kyanite as well, like black kyanite. But let me take a second to see what's going on here. Where's this visual going? So I'm gonna give you the summarized version, and then maybe I'll go into like the visuals I'm getting. But the message was like, oh shoot, can I get a repeat? Can you guys repeat that, please? Okay, never mind. I'm gonna do it the other way. They were showing you this black kyanite and this like yellow like topaz or citrine, and it was kind of like, it would kind of be like layered on you, like it'd be like the black kyanite, the yellow crystal, black kyanite, but it almost like turned into a bumblebee. It was almost like you turn it, and it's not a bad message. It's a good message, but it was like to kind of, you know how black usually symbolizes protection. Yellow is usually like personal power, solar plexus, willpower, things like that. And it was kind of along those lines where it was like, can I get that summary again, please, guys? Because it was good. It was a message that, if I'm paraphrasing it, it was something along the lines of like, you are protected and like it's good to be in your power, but it's also like you're protected and like you have that. So like take action was kind of the message, or it's like, no, you're protected as you take action. I feel like it's always a good time to be in your power. I feel like it's going to be easier to be in your power and like know your strength and know you're divinely protected and like move towards things. It's kind of a message where it's similar to what the air signs just had, where it's like, as you know your power and as you know your divine protection and as you know, these things, like take action on things. Don't just like sit still, like as you know you're protected and can take action on things. I also feel like things are going to be better than you realize in general. That's a message channeling through right now, is maybe things seem a little haphazard right now or a little like loose, but things are going to tighten up really quickly in your life and like be more of like a tight path that feels like it's going somewhere, instead of feeling a little bit loose or lazy is something they're showing me as well. Like there is the message I'm getting. And I don't know if I always have time. Well, whatever. Let's move down to the next message, because I was getting all these visuals and I'm like, should I explain that or not? They're like, yeah, we can skip it. So next message here, fully is good. I know we kind of started with beetles with one of the other readings, but beetles are showing up for you again here. And they're pointing to the armored and protective shell of the beetles, not the band, the bug. Though I don't know. Never mind. I was going to make a joke about like an emotional armored protective shell that the beetles had, but I don't think that was the case. Maybe for like one of them, but we don't need to get into the beetles. We don't need to do a reading on the beetles. We can do a reading for you guys. Coming back to the bug beetles though, and the protective shell here. I think like some of you guys don't realize how like armored up you are etherically. Like you think you're vulnerable, but nothing can really get to you. So try not to be afraid is one of the messages. Like people can't harm you. And sometimes we're taught to be afraid so people can control us. And it's not really anything you did wrong. It's it's just a lie is kind of what I'm getting. And it's time to ditch that lie and realize, maybe other people can't harm you energetically. And, take things as they come, be aware, use your discernment, but that's kind of that is the message I'm getting on that one. Going back to the black kyanite though, from the earlier message here, black kyanite's usually taught or purported to always be clean and clear. Black kyanite's usually really good with like energetic clearing, and healing, and like deep healing and getting really deep with things. And why is black kyanite showing up for you right now? That crystal might just be a good one to have on you, is something I'm getting. For now, I feel like it might also help you stay balanced, because I feel like you need something that works quickly when it comes to like energy work. I feel like that crystal will. And like I know we just talked about how armored up you are, but I feel like you can't have like slow protection. I feel like you need something that's like there, or something that's like actively clearing things. I feel like that would help you out and keep you balanced. It's just what I'm getting. So hopefully that's helpful, that crystal. So what else would be high special for me to get to here? The first thing they showed me ahead of time for your reading, the first message channeling through, is it's like you're getting ready for a long underwater journey, and you had this spear, you had all these like bags, you were like at this pier like ready to dive into the water, and like you're headed to Atlantis is what I'm getting. And as I said that, I just realized like, a lot of people like in the spiritual community talk about like Atlantis and Lemuria. I don't dive into that as much personally. Is there something to it? Yeah, sort of, but I'm a little bit concerned about going off the rails with it sometimes. I think people do sometimes, honestly. But coming back to the message, they showed this, funny enough, as like a journey to Atlantis for some reason. And why is this important? Why is this showing up for you? I feel like for the water signs, you feel like you're done with certain things in your life that you're not done with. And I want to also get what this underwater journey symbolizes for you in your IRL, your real life. But what's up with this? You're not done with certain things. Like sometimes we think to use the crystals metaphor, we think we're done with crystals like forever. We're like, that's behind me. But then you find yourself unpacking them the next day or something like that. Or like, I'm done with energy work. And then you find yourself doing a self session the next day, and like 20 clients book a session with you or something like that. I just feel like you're not done with your journey, and maybe you got to a resting point and thought that was the end, but it's not, and there's like more to go. I feel like you also just haven't even hit the beautiful part of your journey, most of you. Some of you, yes. Some of you are like 83 and you're like, what are you talking about? but I don't know, maybe there's still certain beautiful things you haven't come up to yet, even if you're 83. But for most of you, you haven't even hit the beautiful part of your journey. I feel like you've seen the rose bud, but not the rose blossom. And I feel like you've been asking, like, is this it? And it's not it. And that's why the journey continues, if that makes sense. As far as what this underwater journey symbolizes for you in your life, it could be a new job or like a business. It could be something you thought you were done with that you're undergoing again, like a specific form of work, or again, like the examples I was giving before. But it's time to head all the way this time. I feel like before you stopped prematurely, or maybe you were forced to stop, but I'm just getting something about like you stopped prematurely and now it's time to finish the journey. So, or maybe you've had a reprieve, it's time to restart this journey. So you're going all the way, you're going to the rose blossom, not just the rose bud. You're seeing it through, and it's going to lead to beautiful things. So whatever that means to you, that's something I'm getting. Next message here. I also feel like some of the things that I wrote down here is like with this underwater journey, you might be healing something really deeply, like at the roots of you, like at the core, at the root of your issues. And this journey is doing that, is something I'm getting. It can also be going deep into your emotions and like pulling up all the trauma and like releasing it for good, instead of half taking care of it and like thinking you're good and then it comes back to bite you 2 weeks later or something like that in a relationship. So that's another meaning that's coming through. The other thing they're saying was like, you're going to be moving in life like you never have before, but I feel like that's forward. I think, you normally would think of underwater travel as slow. Like submarines typically move a bit more slowly. I know some fish move like ridiculously fast. in underwater. But for humans, usually we think of it as like slow, like swimming is slower than running, etc. I feel like this is going to be fast though. I feel like you're also going to be making moves in ways people don't think are possible in your life, and more power to you is what are the words that come to me when I say that. Like, I would do it anyways, but I feel like that's going to be good. Next message here was just like, the universe is just preparing you for a new level. And when I was getting this message, I kept getting this visual. It almost looked like heaven. There were angels all around. There was God. There was Source. It was all higher beings, and it was like in the clouds, as as the metaphor goes, I think, for heaven. And pretty much it was also about a higher calling. It was about a higher version of what you're already doing. It could be a new level in a relationship. It could be any area, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. It could even just be your frequency, but I feel like it's 10 times greater. It's like vastly greater than before. So it's like a really big up level, and you've been prepared for this for a while. I feel like what I'm hearing is next month is when you start to see the results. Next month and a little bit after. So I feel like it's long lasting. I don't feel like it's like you get to this higher level and then you're back down again. I feel like you get to this next level and then there's another level beyond that. And it's really interesting. Okay, guys, they were showing me something really interesting, but they want me to skip it. Maybe that was for me. Next message here. For some reason, ox spirit animal showed up, and there's multiple meanings they're telling me ahead of time, but what I had ahead of time was they gave me the term gentle giant. They said you don't have to wreck, they gave me the S word, you don't have to wreck crap to be a giant. You can bring that out if you need to, but you can also be a gentle giant. So you don't have to like prove how big and strong you are by beating up on people all the time. You can just like be the gentle giant, and that's enough. And what's the message here? I feel like one thing that's popping in, or this one message I'm getting, is it's really quick and it's very subtle, but it's almost like this thing of like, if there's a big person in the room, like big, strong, maybe intimidating, and it's like sometimes their presence alone is all that's needed to deter violence, or like a robber or something. Like, they don't have to go around like proving how big and strong they are and like beating down old women and stuff like that to like prove, it's like they just kind of have to be it. And so that's like a weird message coming in. Like, sometimes just being the gentle giant is enough. Beyond that here, I would avoid throwing temper tantrums in your personal relationships right now, and be as calm as possible in conversations, in your relationships. I feel like throwing temper tantrums is just going to make everyone upset and like set things back when it doesn't need to be that way. I would be the gentle giant in the room, like maybe even reminding other people of their power, or reminding gently people of the truth of a situation, or speaking calmly. But I know we kind of diverted into a different message with it, but that's another thing coming through, is just don't throw temper tantrums as a reminder. Anything else? I feel like this gentle giant message is just like not, maybe I said enough where it makes sense for you listening with your circumstances. So maybe I just need to trust that, but I feel like there's more I could say. So anything else here? They're just saying you are the gentle giant. You don't need to prove it. Next message. This was an interesting one as well. They showed me like someone with like a shield. It was kind of like a medieval shield. It reminded me of like the little plastic rubber shields that I used to have, and like as like a kid, like, you'd have like that medieval costume that's like made out of plastic or whatever, like the breastplate and like the helmet and like your weird plastic shield and like a plastic sword or whatever. But you had this shield, and it was kind of like, what's the best way to say this? It was like you with the shield are being like blessed by something, whether it's like a sci-fi energy beam from like it looked like something out of a Marvel movie, if I'm being honest, or something like that. But like the message was like, is the shield adequate for the attack? Was like the question I was getting when I was being shown this, you like defending and like this energy beam, but the shield's kind of like breaking apart. Like, can it really handle it? The message is like, one, don't play old games with new people in your life. Like, try to meet new people where they are at instead of defending yourself in the same old ways. What does that mean? Sometimes we go into new relationships defensively. We're like, oh, this person's going to be like XYZ and they're going to be jealous of me and they're going to try and steal my boyfriend or whatever. But it's like, this could be like the coolest cat you've ever met, and you're presuming that, and like maybe that's just not the case, is kind of the message I was getting, which is kind of like a flip on the visual they were showing me. So I wouldn't like and like maybe for instance, like the old game you would play with would be you'd never talk about your boyfriends, or you just keep things under wrap in your life and people would never really get to know you. But maybe it's like time to not play that, or you know, an old game that would resonate for you in your circumstances. So I feel like that being open, as I like start a rap song there with the BBB, being open to people and where they're at is going to be more healing for you than one. I feel like I'm on a different message altogether, forcing people to be in the same box or viewing people as all in the same box. But two, I feel like it's going to allow possibilities for like better relationships, because you're not forcing every relationship into the same box as like how your ex acted or how your old friends acted, if that makes sense. The other message was shield, because they kind of went to a different way, meaning with it as well after I finished, was you are shielded from the worst and you are shielded in general for the highest good. So sometimes we think life is out to get us. It's not. I feel like life is shielding you from things that are not for your highest good, I suppose you could say. So I feel like life is actually on your side. And sometimes when life cuts something out or protects us something that maybe we didn't want protection from, you know, maybe we want a vacation in Hawaii, but maybe it's not a safe time to go to Hawaii, or maybe something would have happened. And life's like, no. And you're like, why? Well, maybe it's working out for your highest good. And the word maybe is really not supposed to be there. It's probably working out for your highest good. It is. Next message here. There was this message of like you being put on display, and it's not in a negative way. It's almost like the universe has plans for you and you are being put on display so people can like see you shine and like learn from it. And it's meant to be a positive message. So it's, I don't know if you guys ever saw the movie Toy Story 2. Because that was another one from when I was a kid. But like all the toys like did not want to be put on this like toy museum and be like trapped in a glass case their whole life or whatever. I don't feel like it's going to be you. I don't feel like this is a negative message. I feel like it's you being put in a position where people see your example. And it's not like a negative example where, you know, like some type of brutal tribe would put someone's head on a pike as an example. It's more just like people see you shining so they might shine as well, or something like that. I don't think I needed to explain that, but I did explain it that much, so it is what it is. Next message here. I feel like I already said this because you're being prepared for a new level, but there was another message about a higher calling. Like, it's just like a reminder that anytime you feel the call to a higher calling or feel pulled to a higher calling, they're just like, don't delay, just do it. You don't need to sit with 20 tarot cards for 10 days. You don't need to book 20 readings and second guess it. It's like, if you feel called to do something higher, like just do it, put it into motion, see what happens. And if it's not for you, it'll be redirected. If it is, it'll happen, or it'll lead you to where it's supposed to lead you. And sometimes I don't think you need this message. I was going to go on this whole tangent of like, sometimes, you know, our thing we're called to next serves a purpose other than just that thing. So maybe you feel called to be a Broadway actor and you head towards it and you put 5 years into it, and maybe you don't get there, but you get something else out of it that leads to your next dream that you do attain. Or maybe, you know, maybe you get the next dream and then there's something higher yet that you feel called towards, or maybe that second dream leads to the third and that's the thing, you know. So maybe I just, for some reason I want to say like, maybe this is just for a couple of you. I just the words just are flowing. I'm just hearing them, where it's like, maybe you don't want to get so attached to like an outcome or like this being the thing, but be open to where it's leading you beyond just that thing. Does that make sense? Like, what is it teaching you in life? What's it preparing you for down the road? An example I can use from my personal life is one time I went to start I joined a rock band when I was 19 and moved across, you know, the United States to join a rock band. And did I get hugely successful and famous with the rock bands? No, it did not happen. But I learned a lot of things about building a following. And how not to do it, really. Business, marketing. 'Cause, you know, I've read a ton of self-help books just about success and about business. There's like, and I became really good with music. Well, I probably need to practice more, but I played guitar for like 15 years, so I got good with that skill. I have that if I ever want to bring music into what I'm doing, or like if I'm making a video and I need background music, as soon as I get my recording set up back up, I could take care of that. So there's like things I got out of it that maybe I didn't get that thing, and maybe in the future I'll feel called back to it in some way, and or maybe in a different way. But I got so much out of it that led to, you know, the next few things. And then I'm not saying I've made it to exactly where I want to be yet, but I feel like this is a lot closer where I'm at now, you know, like with TikTok and with the spiritual business and teaching energy work and doing readings. So I didn't get that thing, but I got something else. So, and it's better, I think, because a lot of the things, never mind, they don't want me to get into that. But I feel like I got a lot more out of this than I probably would have out of that. And I feel like it's healthier too, and just better for me and hopefully the world too. Next message here. What else would be? That's what I have it for you that I channeled ahead of time, excuse me. But they're pointing my eyes to, you can't see it, but there's certain things around the room, and sometimes the way I'll get messages, they'll point my eyes to something and then they'll start giving me the information. And in this instance, they're changing it a little bit. They're showing me this like ancient pottery, kind of like the Greek pottery, how there was like Greek etchings on it, and they would like kind of tell stories in the pottery. And I'm getting this weird question for you, like, what would you want your pottery? I don't know why they said ancient Greek philosopher, but if you were like in one of those stories, or there was one for your life, like what would you want that pottery to depict you as, your life as? How would you want it to depict you? And maybe see, like, is your life matching up with that right now? And don't freak out if it's not, because you have every opportunity to turn that around in the moment and going forward. And it's kind of another way to phrase that question, how do you want your life to work or look? But I feel like it's like this message of like, if it were imbued in legend, how would you want your life to look? Like, how would you want to be presented in that pottery? And how can you take action to make that your reality instead of whatever's going on that you don't want to see? And you know, sometimes life still happens. Sometimes your cat still poops on the floor or whatever. That's not that important, unless it is somehow important to you. But in general, what do you want your legend to be is one of the questions coming through. So what else would be hiding? They're showing me a minotaur next. I guess we're in this groove now. And like, you know how the minotaur was like, I think it was in this maze in some story. So what's going on with the minotaur and the maze? Or am I getting minotaur? Okay, sorry, I thought I got minotaur and centaur mixed up, but I didn't. So what's up with the minotaur? I feel like you guys are getting a free pass in some type of endeavor where it's like maybe in this maze you have to like get this ancient treasure or something. Like you're Indiana Jones getting a treasure. And maybe normally you'd have to like fight a minotaur or something or deal with it being in the maze. But I feel like the minotaur is like gone. It's like either like packed up and left a long time ago, or it's like out to lunch or something. So you kind of get a free pass with like something you want to do in your life, where it's like easier, or certain challenges are just gone. And I would use that to your advantage and like make the most of it, not sit on it. And so they're kind of showing me like, you know, the tortoise and the hare fable or story or whatever, where, you know, the hare is so much faster than the tortoise, and he's like rushing to the finish line, but he's like, never mind, I'm just gonna goof off because this tortoise is so slow. But because the tortoise keeps going, he like gets to the finish line. And they're just saying like, regarding this message, don't be the hare that like doesn't take advantage of the minotaur being gone. Like I'm kind of pulling from two different stories, but don't be that person who like sleeps on the opportunity to like just get it done. So like, what is that specifically talking about, that minotaur and that maze here? I feel like it's something you want to accomplish that would normally be really difficult, but it's like the stars are aligned where it's like easier for you. For example, well, what's the best example I could use to help you see this in your life? And I'm getting you probably already do, but I just want to make sure I'm helping all of you with this in whatever ways for the highest good. Like maybe you were trying to build a social media following back before TikTok came along, and like you're on Instagram and it's like, it's not happening. It's just not growing because Instagram was like I feel like Instagram was like very difficult to grow on for a while before TikTok showed up. But then TikTok shows up all of a sudden it's really easy to get organic growth. It's really easy to reach people with your posts. And it's like, maybe you got lost in the noise before, but now people are like noticing. It's kind of like that. It's like it's not that specifically, I don't think, for you guys, because they're kind of saying no as I say it, but think about like that, but like tweak for your situation, or just forget I said it all together and just go with the original thing I said. But I'm going to close the reading there. They're showing me an eclipse. I know we just had the eclipses, but what's up with this eclipse here? They give me the phrase that things are being eclipsed out of your life, even like following the eclipses. So I'm getting like, be grateful for what you have is something I'm getting. I'm not saying you're going to be losing everything like that, but I feel like be grateful for what you have and it's replaced really quickly is the message, even like after the loss. I feel like that's going to be healing. I feel like in some ways you don't realize how good you have it are the words coming to me. And some of you might be going through something and you're like, I don't know what this guy's talking about, but hopefully it makes sense anyway, somehow. Like you don't realize how good you have it and you are going to be shown how it can be better, but be grateful for how it is right now to open the doorway for better is kind of what I'm getting. And you can't force the universe to move forward on things, whether it's a project or something you're trying to build, like a business. Sometimes things need their time, but you showing up consistently regardless is probably going to be what moves the needle. I don't know why I'm on this other tangent, but maybe you need to hear it. So keep that in mind. Like, I would keep showing up consistently for like something you're trying to build or like a dream. Even if you don't feel like it's moving forward quite yet, I feel like it will. And you showing up consistently is what moves the needle. Sorry for jumping like messages. Just like, I feel like I just like went halfway through one sentence and started another, but metaphorically. Hope that helps. Anything else before we close this reading here? I don't know. I'd say like if you do need a rest, I would take a rest and like, I feel like there's a lot of action ahead, but if you need a rest right now, it's okay to take a rest. Like you'll be taking action soon and all that. So hopefully that made sense and was helpful. And there's more. I'm so sorry. There's a honeybee and there's like a honeycomb and honey. For some reason, I'm just getting this additional reminder, like don't neglect where life is good. Like really imbibe it, like sit in that energy, like really relish it. Like, don't like, if like life hands you like sweetness, like honey or like honeycomb, like you don't have to be like, you can be like, oh yeah, it's sweet. Honey's fine, I guess. That's great. I still really want this really cool thing that I'm trying to build, but whatever. I mean, I'm just going to let that honey sit there, I guess, until later. They're like, that's okay, but like really try to relish that sweetness in life, that good experience, whether it's small or big, and like make the most of it. And you're going to be getting a lot more out of life, even in the big things you do want to build when they show up, because you won't be so on to the next. I think on to the next can be a good thing in certain ways, but in this instance, it's like, it's almost like you get something and you're like, yeah, cool, bye. Or like you have this really cool thing and you're like, yeah, whatever, bye. It's like, what if you sat with it and sat in that frequency and like was grateful for it instead? And then when you get the things you want now, you won't be like on to the next. Does that make sense? So, okay, they're saying no more. So we got all the messages. The last thing they're showing me is like this, it almost looks like the stars in like the sky, but it's like, it almost looks more like a compass, but it's the stars. And it's almost, this word I'm getting is like this reset. And I'm getting the words 1,000 year, which is weird. This is, I don't really like delve super hardcore into astrology, so don't quote me on this, but they're showing me how it just like, it's almost like every 1,000 years, maybe we get this like reset of some type, but it's like, they're showing it as like an astrological thing. And it's almost like where, it's not like your life is resetting. It's not like things are resetting for you in a negative way, like all your progress is being erased or anything like that. It's kind of just like a lot of the things in the world are resetting, so they can be built better. So if something in the world gets like neutralized, for instance, like a certain way money works or something like that, something better is going to replace it. That's for the highest good of all of us, or at least closer to that. And you might just see like a little bit of a reset sweeping through the world right now. Like now and maybe over the next years even, but year, I think, well, what's the time frame? Now through the next year is what I'm hearing for starters. So I don't know, what's that going to look like? just a lot of change is what I'd say. But I feel like you guys are gonna be fine. I don't know why we're bringing that message in, but we are. Hope that helps. I love how he explains everything. Thanks, Angie Z. I appreciate that. You're welcome, Destiny. You guys are so welcome. Thank you for your time. Perfect. You're welcome. That's why I do this. You're welcome. Banana Waffle. Great username. Hi. You are so welcome. Ramen Reality. Funniest live ever. Perfect. You're a great reader. Thank you, Robin Reality. Thank you. I appreciate that a lot. So much clarity. Perfect. I am glad. And you know what? That's one of the major aims is like, what are you guys for the highest good? It doesn't make sense for you guys. Are you getting the clarity? Did the message make sense for you? So if that's the case, then I did my job. So I'm glad to hear it. I guess we're gonna do a full channel mode message because that's what they're saying. And the theme I'm getting for this is bringing the higher realms to the earth. I'll put the sign up just for my editing sake. I don't know if it'll stick or not, but so for anyone newer here, pretty much it's just me channeling my spirit guides, angels, and source directly. The name they gave me for them is the Angelic Collective Absorbital, if that's important to you. But they really also told me, like, we don't really have names up here, so they just gave me the name to have the name, I guess. So pretty much I might start coughing, and then they'll laugh through me, and then they'll start talking, and again, it's about bringing the higher realms to the earth or something like that. So I'm gonna give myself just a few seconds, though. I feel like I need a second before I jump into that, and maybe some more water. It'll probably be about like 10 to 15 minutes long, so thanks, Destiny. Oof. Okay, we're gonna start. So here we go. And we're in. Welcome to this channel today. Grounding the higher realities to the earth. For all of you stretch up to the heavens. Some of you, even most of you, think you are separate from heaven is a word we could use, from source, from all that is, but you are directly connected to source. You never left, in some ways, the higher realms, and you have the capability to ground those in through your being. And that is what this channel is about today, is how can you access that within yourself and bring through the higher realms so you are a conduit of spirit all of the time, not just some of the time. And you are having that impact of for the highest good, and only for the highest good, higher realms through your day-to-day living. Because it is a myth that the world is changed by one activity, one event. And yes, one event can have a great butterfly effect, to use the human terminology. One event can have a great impact in an instance. However, you bringing through the higher realms consistently through your actions, through your being day to day, you being who you are on a soul level to bring that through, is going to be what changes the planet on a consistent basis and keeps things up leveling and keeps things moving. The planet is not at a place where it can get stagnant and it cannot afford to get stagnant at this place that it is at, where it cannot stop transforming. It cannot just sit still. It needs to move, it needs to change, it needs to grow, and you are a part of that. And that might be why you feel like you are moving and changing and growing and transforming so much in this time period as well. Not that you won't have breaks or rest, not that you personally won't have stillness in your life, and we implore you to develop stillness and peace in your life so that you have a greater chance to tap into the higher realms and know what that's like. But how can you do that? We've been going on about that for a few minutes. How can you tap into the higher realms? One form, as we've spoken about before, would be channeling and honing that connection in. But taking time with yourself each day, in meditation, with a journal, with your coffee. We don't judge. So many of you think coffee is a bad thing, but it brings joy to some of you. Maybe it's not the best thing for all of your bodies if you are imbibing coffee that was not properly raised or had chemicals, but you can get organic coffees, you can get different coffees, and some of it's actually nutritious for you. So don't beat up on yourself for enjoying something that other people have a story is bad. For nutrition is still being figured out on the planet. Your humans have not totally nailed it down yet, and if they had, none of you would have any issues with your nutrition in the first place. You'd all be flying high in the perfect bodies, feeling great all the time, yet you don't. So don't worry about that. But we digress. Coming back to the analogy, sitting with yourself, coffee, tea, whatever it is, and inviting those higher realms to be with you. And write down one note that you feel like you are hearing or getting or feeling as you do so. And if you hear nothing, that's okay. You do not have to force yourself to channel or receive information. It's more about getting in the frequency. It's about getting in tune with the higher realms. It's about bringing that through your body, which you're doing by inviting it in. So take a second right now. If you feel comfortable, if it feels right to you, sit, close your eyes. And if it feels light and right to you, you can say, fully for thy good, in the highest and best ways, I invite the higher realms to work through me. I invite the higher realms to be with me. I become a conduit of the higher realms. And the thing is, you are all of it. You are already the higher realms. You are just inviting them to be more concretely with you, to have more of an impact on this earth through you, whether you realize it's happening or not. And do not think you are not worthy of this. You already are it. It's the human stories that tell you you are not worthy of something that is your birthright, something that is your connection, something that you are. It is the human stories that tell you you are separate from Source, the divine, the universe, when you are all of it, and Source is all of it, and Source is you. So of course you can be a conduit of the higher realms all of the time, or as is for the highest good for you. Of course you can bring these higher energies through. Or work things out of your system so that you can, if you need to have a bit of a flush in any way. Of course you become a great channeler if you wanted to, a great intuitive. Of course you can become whatever you dream to be. And yes, there is a path for you and your soul that your soul signed up for. There is destiny and divine intervention, along with the free will, along with the choice. But it's all interconnected. And maybe your free will is the divine destiny. Maybe your choice is the destiny. Maybe it's both. And we do not say that to confuse you. It is a combination of both that really makes up your reality. What are you choosing? Who are you being? What does Source want? What is Source bringing through you? But you have the power to change your reality because you are Source. You have the power to make requests of Source, such as what we talked about earlier with bringing the higher realms through you. So you're not powerless in this reality. You're not powerless in this world. You simply just do not know where your power lies when you are feeling powerless. Or you do not realize what Source is doing for you in the situation. So how does this help you be a conduit of the higher realms? We are simply trying to remind you that you are all of it. Let us do an exercise. A different one. Sit with yourself, close your eyes. Imagine yourself looking up through your crown chakra to the higher realms. See it up above you, and you might see angels. You might see heaven. You might not see anything if you are newer to this work, or you do not receive intuitive visuals or work in that way. Do not worry. Just feel the energy. Stay with the energy of the exercise. And as you look up at the higher realms, look up at Source, your spirit team, look up at those higher realms and say, what will it take for that to be in me, not just above me? What will it take for that to be brought through me and not be separate from me? And you are undoing the separation you've been taught. You're undoing the stories that are keeping you from bringing through the higher realms, because you are the higher realms. You might be asking, why do this exercise then? Well, you need to teach yourself you're the higher realms. You need to experience it. Bring it through you to help others, if you choose. You can do whatever you choose. Why is this important right now? The universe is leveling all of you up. Big time. That's why things seem difficult sometimes. That's why the world seems haphazard. That's why you seem haphazard sometimes, some of you. Bringing the higher realms through you is a way to beat it to the punch. It's a way to expedite the process. Because you're already going where the universe wants you to go. There's less struggle, less fight. It's not that you don't have free will to choose something else. I suppose one question is, do you even want to choose something else? And why would you? That might be something to dig into. Why do you want to go down a different path? There's nothing wrong with that. That would be a good human story to dig into. Was it your parents? A different life? Ancestral? Something else? And don't worry about it. You are all headed in the right ways. We just wanted you to consider that. One thing about this message is you are accessing the higher realms just by encountering it. You are bringing them through you just by encountering it, should you want to get that experience, to feel that energy. So you can access that in your own life. You could see it as similar to an attunement, such as in Reiki, but not really. It's a little bit different. It's more of a preparation for what is to come, where you are headed, and who you're meant to be. And that can play out physically differently for all of you in vast ways. But it all looks like the higher realms working through you, to some degree. Otherwise, why are you here? You're here to be both here and there at the same time, and you are. You're not here to be separate. You're here to remember. And this is remembering. So that's attunement, if you will call it that. And don't worry, we have not done any type of actual attunement against your will or anything negative of any variety. We've been speaking to your souls. We've been asking your higher selves if they are on board, if you are on board. We've only been doing work that's for your highest good. That is always the aim. Otherwise, there is no reason for us to be here speaking through Brandon, doing this work. Otherwise, we are wasting time, yours and everyone else's. We do not waste time. So, what else can you do to be a pure conduit of the higher realms? Well, you're going to naturally find yourself in training to that. But what is it that speaks to your soul that you do not do in your everyday life? Whether it's a physical thing or a spiritual thing, an emotional thing. We do not care if it is a soap opera on the television, if it speaks to your soul. If it truly speaks to your soul. That is not going to be most of you, by the way. What is it that gives you that connection to yourself? If it's a physical instrument, programming on a computer, something you feel called to do more than anything, or to a vast degree, especially if you do not do it. We encourage you to do it. You do things in the physical on a soul level more than you realize. Certain things in the physical speak to your soul for a reason. And oftentimes you are acting from the soul more than you realize, more so than from the human brain or anything like that. So what are you drawn to on a soul level that you are not doing? And you may get visuals as we speak of this. You might get the answer. Or it might begin to become more apparent following this channel because you are remembering. So we leave you with that. This has been a conversation about you accessing the higher realms. The exercises, while simple, will help you to do that more. And you're going to be changing people as you do this. Not overnight, but around you, reality will begin to change because you are accessing a higher place. You are living from a higher you, an actual higher you, more of the time. And as that frequency rises, as you're going to where Source wants you to go ahead of time, everything transforms to match. So you can sit after this channel and see if anything else comes to you that might help you with this. And do not force yourself to make it make sense if it does not make sense. You can allow this to be a purely energetic thing. And, well, that was nice, but I guess I'll go about my day. Because you'll start to realize what we were talking about later. It does not have to make sense now, but it will. So go forward and be a pure conduit of spirits, of your soul, of who and what you truly are. And go change the world by simply being a being who brings the higher realms through you. And that is all that's needed right now. We wish you well. We wish you the highest and best. And if you will be tuning in on a future channel, we look forward to speaking to you then. Farewell. You're welcome, guys. All the chills during this, perfect. You're welcome. You're welcome, guys. I'm so glad it resonated. That was amazing. I felt like I was floating. Thank you. That makes sense. You're so welcome, Healing Movement. Can't wait for this to be on YouTube. It will. As long as there weren't any technical difficulties, it will be. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Sea of X is not messing around lately. Yeah. That was awesome channeling. Awesome. I'm glad to hear it. Maria, by the way. Oh, hey, Maria. You needed this. I'm glad it got to you. Awesome. I'm glad to hear it. I had tears and saw so many creative things I want to do. You should go do it, Tina. I felt tapped in. Perfect. That's perfect. Love you, bro. We all need a meet and greet one another. I would love to put a meet and greet together one day. Or some type of, I don't know if it'd just be a party or a conference or a hangout or a channeling thing or a what. My mediumship just came online. You did hear that? Yes, that's what thank you for the feedback, by the way. I'm glad it's doing that because that's what it sounded like they said it was supposed to do. So that's awesome. How's it get any better than that? I wish. Where are you based near? I'm around Chicago right now.
I'm in Illinois, of all places. Awesome. I think, okay, I might end up, if you guys want, I know it's a complete gear change almost from what we've been doing. I might end up just playing guitar for a second, just for like meditation, and it'll be energy healing infused guitar. And so I might jump into that in just a second. Brandon, is it weird if I book a session to just hang out? Oh, I'm serious though. I don't know. I don't want to say it's weird. I feel like that's an amazing compliment, and I thank you. I don't want you to waste. Not that it would be a waste of money, but I'll sit with it. I guess I'll sit with it for a second. I'm gonna go get my guitar in just a second. It's in the other room. Might have to get more water. Maybe I don't. They're having me uncomfortably promote myself. So, I mean, if you guys, and of course I'll be doing this every week, just about on Sunday still. But of course I have a monthly membership that I have with just weekly readings. Depending on the tier that you buy, there's like a monthly channeled message. That's like a 40-minute plus version of what I just did with the channel. There's channel guided meditations on some of the levels. So you're welcome to check that out if you want. It's just in my website. And I do personal readings. I need to probably open my scheduler up more. I think I only have a couple days open right now, but I'll get on that. And I don't have any energy work classes scheduled right now, but I'm thinking of opening some in December for like Reiki and for angelic fires and stuff. So that's kind of it, I suppose. I'm gonna go get my guitar and I'll be back in like just a minute. So, promote your book too. Yeah, I also have a book that I forgot about. It's Spirit Guides, Angels, and Speaking with Source. I think it's in my Linktree. I have it right here. I forgot to, I have a crystal sphere that was sitting on it, so I don't want to drop that. Okay. I forgot to unmirror this, which is fine. It doesn't affect anything besides the visuals, but okay. Book 2, we'll see what they have me do. I would like to, and I have ideas. We'll see what happens, is what I'd say with that. Finally purchasing book now. Awesome. I hope it does great things for you. I hope you love it. I'm gonna go get my guitar now, so I'll be right back. Oh my God. Okay, we're back. I'm gonna check the tune. I'm gonna rearrange myself so you can see what I'm doing a bit more. That's okay. So, I'm just going to take a quick second to set intentions and really, I mean, I guess you could maybe see it as sound healing as well, but a lot of it is I'm also going to be bringing through Reiki. So it's going to be Reiki infused, and I'll be working with probably we'll see if they want me to do the 4 angelic fires or angelic light or what, but it's going to be Energywork Infused for the highest good. So it's just pretty much my intention. It does whatever is for the highest good for you, whatever, each of you needs, and it'll just kind of, the Reiki will be flowing along with the music and going where it needs to for the highest good. So I'm going to take 2 seconds just to set intentions.
Okay, so. So I'm going to take 2 seconds here. And here we go. So I'm just going to play for a while, and I'll try not to interrupt it or do anything distracting. And I'm just going to take a second to see how they want me to start. And may only what's for the highest good occur. And you can just set the intention to just receive what's for the highest good for you to receive. Of course, like whether it's, yeah, so here we go. Where should we start here? I had a new song and I'm not ready to play it, sorry. Okay, here we go.
think I'm going to close it there. But I hope that was good. And did whatever was for the highest good. And before I close it out, I'm just going to set the intention that any Reiki, any healing energies, any healing that occurred for the highest good, of course, was only for the highest good, and that any Reiki continues to work for however long would be for the highest good, till any shifts and changes that are for the highest good to be completed are completed. And that's, I mean, the highest and best shifts and changes occur regarding that fully for the highest good. And angels, please clean up the work in any ways that's needed. Wrap it up in any ways that's needed. And close that in whatever ways are for the highest good. Thank you. So hope that was good. I'll try to prepare more next time. But, oh, you're so welcome, man. So poppin'. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Tina. Thank you. Better every time? Perfect. I'm glad to hear it. You're so welcome. I'm so glad, guys. Felt it in my heart chakra so strong. Awesome. You're welcome. You're welcome, guys. Okay, I might hang out for just a second, but I'm probably gonna close it soon, just so you know. So much love to you too, but how does it get even better than that? And what's the highest and best that can happen regarding all of that and going forward? And I'm wishing each of you the best for you, the best journey, the best life, the best path, whatever is for your highest good. And you all just deserve so much good, is something I'm hearing as I'm going to close this out. Like, it's not even funny, and people don't tell you that. People don't treat you that way, but in your hearts and in your souls, you really do. And I'm wishing that good for you. So, powerful end of the session. I felt it. And that invitation to bring the higher realm to me. Perfect. That's amazing. That's amazing. All right, I'm going to close it there. How does it get any better and all that? And I'm wishing you well, and I'll hopefully see you next week, okay? You take care.